Greetings everyone and a warm welcome. Hey guys, this is the October 2017 Psi Earth Prediction Series. These cards are connected to collective consciousness, and that is how we tune into the reading. So this is a global prediction. The cards that turn up are whatever really collective consciousness is focusing on. So a little bit more shuffling. October is still set to be a tumultuous astrological month, so there is plenty going on, and I think following on from September there are still unfinished events or activities. September's prediction was extremely accurate. It was quite astounding at the things that came up in the cards that did come to fruition. So let's see, two more shuffles. A few more shuffles and deal the cards. The scales, fortune, the body, father, union, and liberation. I have a feeling the scales was in September, and liberation may have been. It has been here a little bit lately. So let's start with the first one on the left. It's proven itself to be quite accurate in September's reading. I talk a lot about it being related to earthquake activity, and although the tree is an apple tree, which in theory would be up in the northern hemisphere where the apples are coming into ripening now in the harvest season, I also feel that this card is still very active for the southern hemisphere as well. The very first thing that the card talks about is quaking and shaking, so earthquakes. Now often because this card is on land, it feels as though land quakes are involved somewhere around the globe. So we've got northern hemisphere and southern with land earthquakes as opposed to sea quakes, definitely from this card anyhow. The other thing that it points to is being out of balance, because they are the scales there. The scales always talk to us about balance of situations in life or in emotional states in particular. So when the scales turn up, I always think to myself, there's something out of balance, out of kilter, that needs readdressing and reconfiguring. So we're still in that state of flux and things being out of balance, and this can be at the emotional end as well as the planetary end. Moving on to the fortune card, we see the man walking up the spiral heading towards a treasure chest. So you would think this indicates a good prosperity around finances, but I've often felt the cards in this particular format of reading almost reverse themselves from their original perspective. So my understanding of this card through the Psi readings is that it means finances become glitchy or tight, or there is something that is holding them down. So sometimes they can even drop one way or another. Now this can be all aspects, so this can be the metals, gold and silver, and other metals, ores and iron. This can be shares and stock market, and this can be actual money, physical money from various countries. Other than that, I haven't really been able to ascertain a great deal of what the fortune indicates, the fortune card. It could be that there is a connection to underground, because he is coming up from the underground, so there could be this feeling of underground activity, or again being caught in something underground, buildings, subways, stairwells even, in buildings, you know, like the fire stairwells. There's that kind of feeling to it as well. It feels very trapped in, like you can't get out. There are no doors in there and you can't quite see how to get out. So then we come to the body card actually right next to it, and unfortunately I don't like the body card because all that person's skin is missing. So what we are seeing are the internal mechanisms of a body, such as the muscles and the blood system in the background. That's like a cell. So we're seeing the internal workings of a body, and I often think of there being incidents where people's bodies are somehow really damaged. And oftentimes burns comes to mind because your skin is gone when it's burnt. So this can come through ways of bomb blasts, terrorist activities, big fires, things that damage the outside of bodies, even crushing, so having your bones crushed or being crushed in events. You know, where you might be in a big vehicle, like a train or a boat or something, or a plane, and you get crushed. The blood cells behind it often make me think of virus-related issues and things to do with viruses. So possibly in October there's either talk about a new virus, or there's a reactivation of a current winter virus, or a new flu virus, or something to do maybe even with the pig or bird flu viruses around that could be reactivated again. Zika virus. There's any potential ways or mechanisms that the virus energy can come through, but it often does when the body card turns up. Right next to it we have the father card. I think he was here in recent months again. He has some very set meanings. He is a warrior and he's training a younger person into the art of war, or how to handle weapons. So he is often around warring factions or energies, or people getting agitated and using hand-to-hand combat, so military style energy. He is pointing to the skies, which is another indicator. So there are things here that happen within our skies. So looking at the planets, looking at comets, asteroids, meteorites, rockets that are being fired up into sky, and that can be technological rockets that are being launched, or it can be warring rockets such as North Korea's missiles and unfortunately his blasted hydrogen bomb he's thinking of letting off. So there is definitely a feeling of movement through the air and with technology, definitely, but also natural phenomena such as comets and meteorites and things like that. Also other things that fall from the sky, so unexpected things that can fall from the sky, such as a satellite which isn't meant to come down, or sometimes unfortunately planes as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. I don't really like these two cards together. They kind of indicate mass events one way or another. We have the Union card at the end here, and I have pretty much only been able to ascertain one paradigm for the Union card, and that is weather related. Well, it feels very weather related. So you see there this river or tributary flowing down, and there are rocks and boulders in it. So it makes you feel as though there is this incredible torrential water movement that has probably come about from a very heavy storm system of some sort. So heavy rain falling down to earth, accumulating in this mass water event, and then it just rushes through. So it can be like floodings of rivers that flood through to towns and bring with them mudslides and slips, even avalanche type things going on here. It usually is weather related, but it can be due to the fact of quake related as well. So when you have a really big quake and you get big mudslides falling down, or hillsides collapsing, that type of energy. But it is definitely related to water one way or another, and often this is known as a heavy water pattern system card. And we come to the last one, the Liberation card. It would be nice if we had freedom and liberation. It usually is the opposite. There's people in the background escaping on a horse, and this is kind of like a jail entry here, and the gate has been left open and they have fled. And on the ground is this snake, brown snake. So I always think of Australia and snakes, and oftentimes something does crop up about Australian snakes. It also represents animals, so things to do with animals, possibly mass die-offs, that type of event coming through. But most definitely it represents fleeing and running away in a hurry because you haven't had time to lock the door. So being evacuated is a possibility, or just needing to run in a hurry. And we see a very fast flowing river here that they're traversing across. So again, it usually is associated with a heavy flooding scenario, so very quick intense rainstorms or weather patterns that have delivered flooding. Now sometimes this could even be a dam that is bursting, because I think this happened before when one of the earlier this year when there was a dam burst somewhere. So that's another scenario. It doesn't have to be weather, but it usually is mass water that's enveloping something and you need to get away from it. Also, Australia often is in the synergy here, and it sometimes can be fire related or weather pattern related, or even just politics or issues around Australia. So there we have it. I'm glad that some of the other worse cards have not turned up. These are kind of giving us enough of a message, but we certainly could have had a bunch of more dire cards turn up for October, and they haven't. So let's hope that we see a little bit of calming of energies. Let's hope things simmer down a little bit, and let's hope weather-wise we get a stability after the terrible September we've had globally for a lot of people. So we see a little bit more calming down. Certainly we're moving from that spring equinox and the autumn equinox, we're moving out of that territory, and that is often when the weather is at its most tumultuous in the spring and fall equinox time zones. So thanks for joining me, everyone. Leave your comments, love to read them all, and collectively we put together the ideas that form the whole reading. So it's not just done by me, it's done by all of you, by everyone. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Namaste.